Leave it there for the oven mitt that is made of a square. Now, before we do go, guys, we did have a question written in by a loyal listener in a segment that we call Chainmail.
Chainmail!
Now, I've just gone through a list of things that are the 50 worst inventions, so I'm going to pick one from this list here to say that this is from the listener's name. Let's go with spam email.
Oh.
Not that this is spam,
I agree with
obviously,
that.
but let's just say spam email. This is from spam email. Now, spam email writes in, to the most honourable and notable noblemen of our land, I write to you in need of some dire ISO adviso. The city of Melbourne is currently in week 3 of isolation 2.0 and the struggle is feeling real. Normal working life would see me facilitating multiple weekly programs from a community centre or in schools, spending ample time with family and friends on the weekend and celebrating special occasions. The original 2020 plan was filled with weddings, overseas holidays and many milestone birthdays, including most of my friendship group turning the big 3-0. My motivation level is at an all-time low, which is a very unusual and new feeling to me. I'm really missing being with my people and being energized by the vibe they bring into my life. What can I do to avoid the extrovert in me from freaking out? Your doting and loyal follower, spam email.
This question really resonated with me because I had that feeling earlier in the week when a friend told me, it was like, so this is a 3rd week of lockdown. And I was like, what? We're only halfway through this? It was like a big punch to the gut, right? And I kept thinking, like, why is this second time been so much harder? And I started looking into it because I'm like, I need answers. I'm a fact man. I need some answers, you know. And a lot of doctors and scientists, they're drawing parallels to our second lockdown to, it's something called third quarter phenomenon, and it's experienced by people who are like on spaceships, submarines, or like going to Antarctica to like do like they're in exploring, like they're working in labs, that type of thing.
Yep.
And it's essentially like the third quarter phenomenon is in your first quarter, you're anxious, you know, you're working things out. People are going to the shops, buying stuff like crazy. Second is when you kind of, you acclimate, you're feeling a bit more comfortable. And then the third quarter is when you basically become like dead inside. And it's become, so they're drawing parallels to like people in submarines and stuff to people in lockdown now, because the novelty's worn off, the anxiety's worn off, and we've all kind of fell into a pattern where we're just doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's nothing new about it. So I would say to this person, you're feeling very normal feelings about an abnormal situation. Like, I don't think you're alone in the way you're feeling now. So, I mean, I feel like this is a very serious answer.
Yeah.
But like the only thing you can really do is like, I feel like the thing that's helped me is just changing up my routine, just doing different things all the time, just throwing, you know, just to, you know, break up the day a bit.
I think the tough part about this is, like you said, about we're all in the situation together. So some people probably feel like they can't exactly vent and say, basically complain about it, because it's like, well, how can I complain because everyone else is dealing with it? But that doesn't take away from the fact that you're not vibing on the situation at all, and you're finding it hard. I think that's the hardest part, is people probably don't feel like they have a voice to complain, when in actual fact they do. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are struggling, but I'm sure there are people that are, you know, doing their best to not struggle, and that's more than fine to reach out to people. And if anything, we're all sort of having a hard time, and we're all sort of letting each other know about that, and we're all then trying to better each other. We're trying to help each other. So you got to speak up about it for sure.
I agree with everything. Like, I feel like everybody needs their voice to speak out, which is great that you've written in the extrovert inside of you want to find something to like keep yourself motivated. And I feel like there's certain things you can definitely do. I mean, I'm an introvert, so for me, a lot of this whole situation is just like, I can stay home and not do anything. Sweet. I do miss people though. I definitely miss my friends. I definitely miss the big events that have happened in my life that have all been put on hold because of this whole situation. And it's definitely making me miserable in certain aspects. But certain things that have got me, like, pick me up, is having meetings with friends online through Zoom meetings. Just having a drink with people online, like pulling out a drink and just saying, hey, fuck it, let's just have a drink. Like we would normally do this on a Friday afternoon, would have after work drinks. I'm going to talk to people and flat out do it, or go for walks and try and keep yourself active. I feel like keeping yourself active tends to help. Staying in bed, staying on the couch all day definitely doesn't help. That's what I've found.
And adding on to the things that help, I think occasionally it is okay to indulge. Like every now and then I'd be like, you know what, Damien, you eat that whole block of chocolate. If it's going to make you feel better, you devour that big boy. And I think those little things of like just kind of indulging has really made this whole thing easier.
100%.
I agree with you, Damien. Me prior to quarantine would be like, pretty trying to be pretty healthy, pretty like on track with things. But I saw an advertisement for Hungry Jack's have the Big Jack, which is basically a Big Mac.
Oh my God.
I don't care.
I have issues with
I'm
this.
having one.
Did you have one?
You had one?
Mm-hmm.
No, I haven't had one.
no.
I haven't had one yet, Marcus. But I'm glad that we could share the love on the Big Jack.
You know what? I'm going to find myself a Big Jack for you, Tom. And I'm going to snap you, all right? And you got to find yourself a Big Jack as well.
I don't use Snapchat, so please just send a message to me, Marcus. Okay, I'm not that cool. Okay. Sorry.
I think we could basically sum up for this person is just like treat yourself. Like whenever you're feeling, I think it's okay to do it. Like just indulge and just make the most of what is a crappy situation.
Yeah,
I think it's fair enough. Just go buy a Big Jack and let me know what it's like as well, please.
This has turned into an advertisement for Hungry Jacks. We need to wrap up the podcast right now.
Let's leave it there. Thanks so much to Spam Email for writing in. They wrote in to us, as people have done in the past, to tqhpodcast@gmail.com. So if you do have a question as well that you want answered, please feel free to email us. We'll happily address it on air. But that is unfortunately all the time we have for the show for the big 200 or 190 something, let's call it. But great questions brought to the table as always, boys. As I mentioned, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at tqhpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to say hi, let us know how you're doing, or if you've got a question of your own, please feel free to do it there. But that is unfortunately all the time we have for this episode. So thank you to everyone out there for listening. Thank you, of course, to Marcus.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you to Damien.
This episode was brought to you by Hungry Jack's latest burger, the Big Jack.
And as we end every episode, Marcus,
stay curious.
thank you again for listening. If you want to get in touch with us and ask us a question of your own, you can email us at tqhpodcast@gmail.com.
That email again, Tom.
Is tqhpodcast@gmail.com. We're also on what, Marcus?
We're on Twitter. We're also on Facebook.
At TQH Podcast. You can find us there. And we are also on, Damien.
Wherever you can get a podcast, that is where the TQH Podcast is. Spotify, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, you name it, we're on there.
And if you head over to iTunes, rate, subscribe, and leave a review, that would be fantastic. 5 stars if you think we deserve it. Thanks for listening.